Welcome back to me reading Transported Wings of Fire story, fanfiction. This time, it's going to be chapter 23. As usual, if this is your first time watching this little series, I recommend you to watch the previous chapters or read them yourself. Some things to get over with. I am no longer sick, or 80%. And yeah, that's it. Let's start. This chapter's name is called The Borderland. It had been another few hours since the last time Daniel spoke to Winter. After their playful banter, which left half of the group's snouts 5 shades darker, Winter started talking to Ghibli about other matters which he wasn't exactly interested in. Star hadn't left to go socialize with the other girls in the group, and he wished her luck with King John. No doubt she's already been asked over 200 questions in the last few hours. Probably more, Daniel guessed. And I have a hunch that most of them were probably about our talk about one another. Daniel looked up. Winter and Keebley were still yakking away on God knows what topic by now. Wow, for someone you used to hate for a long time, you do seem to get along well, Daniel thought. He looked up to the now dark, radiant sky. Some of the stars had finally decided to come out of hiding and were scattered across the sky like specks of paint. Daniel was admiring the beauty of Pyria's night when a large gust of cold wind crawled along his scales, making him shiver. Not going to lie, I could go for a hot cup of chocolate right now, Daniel thought. The night was getting colder, and he needed something to take his mind off of it, or else he would never make it without getting frostbite. But then he remembered that they never ended up telling him anything about Jade Mountain. Well, I'm pretty sure I know most of it, but it wouldn't hurt to ask. It wouldn't hurt to just ask, and it should pass the time until we get there. Hey guys, Daniel called. This made them both jump at the sudden sound of his voice, which indicated to them that they both forgotten that he was even there. They both looked down nervously to see Daniel's unamused face. You forgot I was here, didn't you? Keebley was about to say something, but fell silent, as he continued to stare at Daniel's face. His feelings began to take over his body again, but luckily Winter interrupted his train of thought. Yeah, we did, Winter stated bluntly. Daniel shot him with a "Are you kidding me?" look. Wow, I can see I mean so much to the both of you. Hey, I was just stating the truth, Winter said in his defense. Whatever. Just make sure you thank me for giving you a free ride across the damn desert, Daniel spat before he continued with his original question. Anyways, I was going to say that you guys never told me about Jade Mountain. I was just wondering if you could give me some input before we headed back. Oh, well, I guess we should probably do that, Keeley said, trying to get back on Daniel's good side. Let's start from the let's start from the beginning, shall we? Keeley continued. Daniel nodded in response as he looked up to him. So, the school opened up about a year ago, Keeley started, and already this immediately caught Daniel's attention. Wait, it opened a year ago? Daniel asked, genuinely confused. I thought I was transported into some time after book 7. But if it's been almost a year, then could that mean I'm in a separate timeline? Daniel thought, now curious about what else he may not know. Sorry. Yeah, the school opened up about a year ago, after the War of the Sandwing Succession. Huh. Interesting, Daniel remarked, as he made a puzzled facial expression. Winter and Keebley both looked at him curiously, but ignored his puzzlement. So after about a week into the opening, the incident happened. Winter said sadly. Dale looked back up at him, at them, when he said the incident, guessing that Winter was talking about the explosion in the history that killed Carnelian and Bigtail. What kind of name is Bigtail? I'm sorry, that's just funny to me. The incident? Daniel repeated. What was it? Keeley finished for him. Let's just say some dragons were luckier than others. It was clear to Daniel that they didn't want to talk about it. So Daniel dropped the subject. So, anything else happen afterwards? Daniel asked. Well, there was a part with Scarlet, Winter said. She died, and then came back from the dead, and died again. So, unless you want to hear that story, there's nothing else to say. Daniel was silent for a quick moment. He guessed that most of it would be the same or similar to what he had already heard. But he wanted to see if there was anything else that was different regarding to the canon stories and whatever the hell he was living in. Yeah, sure. I'm down for story time, Daniel responded enthusiastically. Okay, well, prepare yourself. It's a long one, Keeley warned before he began. Both boys took turns, taking turns, explaining the story to him, but by bit. Huh? Story to him, but by bit. Although Daniel already knew most of it, though things took an interesting turn when Winter explained the diamond trials. So I was forced to fight my brother to the death in the diamond trials, Winter said. However, instead, we found an ancient Nightwing inside a frozen block of ice. There was some drama related to Dark Stalker's time, but me and my brother Hailstorm ended up killing her. There was a pause before Winter continued. Or more specifically, I ended up killing her. She froze back into an ice cube, and I supposedly won the trial. Wait, so you won the trial? Daniel asked, completely shocked at what he was hearing. Yeah, Winter confirmed, but I wasn't able to kill my brother. I didn't have the heart to do it. Yet, I knew that if I walked out of those dreaded caves instead of him, the tribe would hate me for killing one of the most loved Icewings around. My parents, I knew the abuse would have just gotten worse. So, instead, although I was the true victor, I left the crown to my brother and fled from the tribe. Daniel had no words. None at all. He had no idea how to react to this information. Don't worry, Daniel. I don't either. So in this timeline, Winter was the one who was victorious, not a Hailstorm. So your family, so your family thinks you're dead? Daniel asked. Winter fell silent. Clearly, there was something he didn't want to say. So Daniel was about to let it go, although Winter interrupted him. Hey, listen. If it's too much for you, we can just drop the sub. Daniel started. No, I may as well say it, Winter stated. Hurricane. So you remember when you found me in the Grand Hall late at night, back at school? How could I forget? You were close to tears right then and there. Right them in there? Oh boy, we love typos. They love us. We love typos here. They make us laugh. You were close to tears right then, them, and there, Daniel responded. This caught Keeley's attention. Winter, you know you can talk to me about things like this, right? That's what friends are for. Yeah, I know, but I didn't know how to tell you at the time, which is why you told me later on that dune outside the cave, Daniel said softly. Yeah, I told you one of my deepest secrets, but I also left something out. Daniel's ears perked as he glanced at Winter curiously. You left something out? Winter nodded. Well, I left it out because at the time I didn't know if I could trust you yet. But now you do, right? Daniel asked, although his hope fell when he remembered that Daniel had massive trust issues. if he's not able to trust Keebly with this, someone who he's known for an entire year, then what's the chance he'll trust someone who he's known for less than a week? Winter seemed to notice Daniel's sudden change in facial expression, and to Daniel's surprise, and his own surprise, he blurted it out. I do trust you. Wait, you do? Daniel asked, slightly shocked and confused. Well, I don't know why, but for some reason, my brain says it's safe to trust you, at least this once. Maybe it's because you shared some of your own secrets with me, so it's my duty to return the favor. Winter shrugged. Well, either way, here goes nothing. They took a deep breath before deep breath for a quick moment. That night, I received a letter from Hailstorm. From your brother? Keeley exclaimed. Yeah. Well, what did the letter say? Daniel asked, now very curious himself. Well, a lot of it was just him checking up on me and my mental health, which I can't say has been great since the events of the trials, but it's been getting better the longer I'm away from my family. Keebley and Daniel both shot him concerned looked. Wait, what? Keebley and Daniel both shot him concerned looked. We love typos here that make us laugh. A concerned looked, which both said, talk to us. Winter sighed as he read both of their faces. I promise, I'll be fine. Just give me time. Daniel was hesitant, but agreed. All right. I trust... Sorry. All right. I trust you're telling us the truth. But if something does happen, please talk to us. You know you can. Yeah. Remember that, dude. We're here for you, Keebley added. Winter shot them one of his rare smiles. Thanks, guys. It means a lot. No problem. Also, you should smile more. It looks good on you, Keebley said, which caused Winter to blush slightly. Daniel, however, interjected this. Ooh, Winter's getting flustered. He laughed as Winter glared at him. Upon seeing this, Daniel continued. Right. Sorry, Winter. Daniel genuinely apologized as he scratched his head a bit. Winter let out a small plume of frost breath. It crossed over Daniel's neck and left a very, very slight burning sensation. However, it disappeared after a while. So, what else did the letter say? Daniel asked, trying to switch the subject. Winter sighed and let out another burning cloud of ice particles from his mouth. The gig is up, Winter stated. My parents found out about me still being alive. Hailstorm said they still don't know how, and they still don't know about me being the true victor of the trial, but Moons knows how long until they do. So, you've been scared for your safety and the safety of your brother, Daniel said, to which Winter gave a small nod. But then, Keebley realized something really bad. Oh, Moons! Keebley yelled, which caught the attention of the others and probably some of their friends flying behind them. Wait, what are we doing? Keebley panicked. Hurricane, we need to turn back now. His eyes went wide as it looked like he just realized he was heading to his death. What do you mean? Daniel asked, slightly confused, although he was able to slowly see what Keebley meant. Do you not hear what Winter just said? His family knows he's alive, and he's scared for his safety. We need to turn back. Daniel put two and two together, and soon realized why Keebley had suddenly started to panic. Wait, Winter's scared for his safety. His family's in the Ice Kingdom at the moment, which is exactly where we're heading. Daniel thought, his mind also full of panic. Great, Ice Dragon, we need to go, Daniel yelled, looking up to Winter with guilty eyes. I'm so sorry, Winter. We should have never come here. Winter's eyes went wide with fear as he finally saw from what was in front of him. Daniel turned too, and he saw it was too late. In the far-off distance, the shadow of a huge wall of ice loomed ahead. There was no mistaking it. This was the great ice cliff. It's too late to do anything. We're already here, Daniel thought sadly. The sun had officially set by now, and all that was left as a source of light were the glistening stars and the moons above. We can't get much closer to the wall, or else when we get shot by it. We need to get on the ground, Winter yelled. But just then he saw that the wall may be the least of the current issues. 2 Ice-Wing guards were patrolling the area in front of them. Unless they dived to the ground below, they would be spotted easily. Daniel stopped flying and grabbed Keeley's talon. What are you doing? Keeley yelled as Daniel began to fly again, dragging him back as he flew back towards the others. Guys, we have an issue, Daniel yelled. He came to a stop in front of Turtle and Pearl before they were joined by Kikijao, Moon, and Star. What's going on? Why did we stop? Moon asked wonderingly. Okay. No time to explain, Daniel said. Look, we all need to get to the ground in the next 10 seconds, or we're all going to have a bad time. I love Sans references. They're so funny to me. All right, jokes aside, let's continue. What do you mean a bad time? Turtle asked, now slightly nervous. Time was of the essence, and he couldn't explain the issue and get down to the ground in time before the guards saw them, if they hadn't already. Winter, Daniel called. Winter's head snapped to attention before Daniel continued. Can you dive? Winter didn't know what was going on fully, but nodded, willing to trust what Daniel said. Okay, Kikijao, grab Moon's talons and hold on tight. Turtle, you do the same with Star. Oh, and Pearl, just try to keep up. Daniel had the most brilliant yet stupid plan he had come up with yet, and he simply hoped it would work. Suddenly, Daniel unwrapped his tail with Winter's. Suddenly, Daniel unwrapped his tail with Winter's and threw him off his back. Winter managed to outstretch his wings to balance himself in the air, but his chest started to sear with pain. Hey, what was that for? Winter yelled, but Daniel ignored him, instead yelling another command. Winter, get him down! And then, without another word, Daniel grabbed Turtle's talon, who was holding onto Star, and with his other talon, grabbed onto Keebly's. Moons, I hope this works, Daniel prayed, not even caring he unintentionally used dragon slang. His mind is getting infected. Hell yeah. Then he clutched both talons tightly as he dived directly down towards the ground. All 3 dragons hanging on for dear life. Oh, Moons! Turtle screamed as he held onto Daniel's and Star's talons for dear life. Hurricane, why? Keeley screamed, the wind rushing past their faces just as Winter caught up to them. It was clear he was in pain, but he wouldn't show it. Just then, Pearl showed up behind them. We got an issue, dude, she yelled as she gestured to behind them. Somehow, a group of about nearly 7 or 8 fully grown Ice-Wing soldiers were on their tails. They were carrying various weapons as they chased after them. Crap, I only saw 2 of them. They must have called reinforcements. Either that, or we just had the work less possible. I could burn them up, Pearl stated, flexing her talons, but Daniel disagreed with the idea. No, we can't kill them, or else the Queen will become suspicious. It's better if we just lose them, Daniel explained. All right, well, how do you propose we do that? Pearl yelled over the loud whooshing noises of the wind resistance. Daniel needed to think of something fast, or else they would all be frozen in ice. But that's when he got an idea. Winter, grab onto Keebly! Daniel yelled. Winter didn't hesitate, immediately using his open talon to do what Daniel said. Once he saw that everyone was holding on to one another, he yelled. So you guys ready for the ride of your lives? Daniel said, as Winter looked at him with wide eyes. You can't be serious, Winter screamed, his memories flashing back to him to when he was first learning to dive like Daniel could. They won't be able to handle it. I could barely handle it, and I knew what I was getting into. Well, we don't have much of a choice, Daniel said, just as King Kajal interjected. What's happening? Her voice was drowned out by the wind whipping her face as they continued diving. But Daniel knew he couldn't explain. He needed to start now, or else he wouldn't have enough time. Everyone, hold on! Daniel screamed, just as he pulled up to start flying towards a large thundercloud, which seemed to spontaneously for in the air next to them. Did the author forget the M at the end of form? Okay, that's pretty cool. Spontaneously for in the air next to them. If they could lose the Icewing guards in the thundercloud, then the cover of the night would allow them to escape easily, with no issues. Deo flapped his wings as hard as he ever had. He had a large chain of screaming dragons holding on to his back talons. You're crazy, Hurricane! Star screamed from close to the back of the chain, to which Daniel replied, I know I am. Based. She went to yell something out, but Daniel couldn't hear her. They had just entered the cloud, and there was lightning everywhere. You're not serious about this, are you? Moon yelled, quickly ducking as a bolt whipped past her head and into the cloud. We'll die if we stay here, Gaily screamed, panic flooding back to everyone there. However, more trouble came when the ice wings appeared. Stop right there, one of them commanded. However, Daniel did the opposite. He immediately began to fly again as the ice wings started chasing him again. Get back here, another one yelled. He started to fly towards them, but out of nowhere, a lightning bolt blew by and struck the metal-tipped spear he was carrying. How convenient. There was a blaring, crackling sound and a huge flash of light. Daniel had looked away from the scene to spare his retinas from burning out, and he guessed the others did the same. As he looked back, the Icewing was nowhere to be seen. The other guards looked hesitant, debating whether continuing to chase them was still a wise idea. Okay, time to go, Daniel said. He flew up towards the tip of the clouds. The guards closely followed suit as Daniel tried to escape. Star, hold him off, he yelled. He didn't know whether she heard him, but after seeing multiple blue blasts of light in his peripheral vision, he guessed she did. Okay, everyone, it's time. Don't let go, whatever you do, Daniel screamed as loud as he could, so that everyone could hear him. What? Almost everyone else said simultaneously, but they didn't have time to process what was about to happen. As Daniel went into a dive again, he held his breath, preparing to breathe a large gust of fire. His throat started to burn, but he kept holding it. He felt smoke leave through his ears. But it wasn't until they were nearly out of the cloud that Daniel turned around to face the screaming crowd of dragons on his tail. They all looked at him with a mix of fear and anger, which spelt, You'll pay for this. Yeah, I guessed that, to be honest. Daniel thought. He shot a huge plume of fire out from his mouth. It whipped past the faces of his friends, who stared back at it in shock. The guards chasing them looked back at it and managed to flee the scene in time to not be cooked alive, although not all of them were able to escape with no burns. Daniel stared back up at his massive explosion of fire, which looked like something straight out of a movie or a fanfiction novel. Lol. The others were still looking back at the mayhem, and Daniel took this opportunity to tuck his legs in and began his stomach-turning dive. The others felt it as soon as it happened. Their stomachs, chests, and jaws all stiffened as they endured the fastest and most intense drop they had ever experienced. While they all struggled to speak due to the wind resistance, Daniel was out, having the time of his life. Woohoo! Dang. Daniel cheered as he pulled up close to the ground. He was tempted to do his usual short stop, but he knew that the others would just crash into him from behind, so he decided against it. Instead, he did a few flips, a barrel rolls. Huh? Instead, he did a few flips, a barrel rolls. Okay. To make up for it, he spotted a. We love typos here. They make us laugh. He spotted a mix of snowy and sandy mountains, which would serve well for cover. Daniel Daniel slowed his flying speed as he landed gracefully. The large fire was beginning to die down, but it was still present within the dark cloud. It looked like a large fiery lantern in the sky. Soon, however, a much smaller, but just as hot and bright fiery dragon landed beside Daniel. Wow, what'd you do to them? Pearl asked as she looked over at what was the rest of the group, who were all shaken from the flight. Oh, well, I guess I may have caused them up a lot. Huh? Oh, well, I guess I may have messed them up a lot. Oh, my bad. That's on me. My bad, guys. Daniel apologized shyly, as he scratched the back of his neck awkwardly. The only things that this earned him were multiple groans from six nauseated dragons and a very soft "shut up" from Winter. Pearl and Daniel started laughing at the others, who could barely stand up straight after what they had just endured. Well, we made it. Finally, Daniel cheered as he looked into the distance. The great ice wall stared back at him in the darkness. A cold yet soft snow had begun to fall, and Daniel felt chills crawl among his scales. Yet all he wanted right then and there was to shove a bucket of ice down his throat. That huge fire burned the inside of his throat, and in agonizing pain had set in soon afterwards. Ow, 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 my throat! Daniel yelled as he coughed. Some small plumes of fire came out as a result. I guess Daniel and I have something in common for once. Daniel grabbed a handful of snow and just swallowed it whole. Hot steam left his system, through his mouth, as he sat down next to Pearl, who just looked down at him. Well, I think you also messed your throat over too. Daniel snorted, or not Daniel, Pearl snorted, trying to hold back a laugh, but ultimately ended up failing when Wensteam. Huh? When Daniel Wensteam. Okay. We left our roses to make us laugh. When Daniel Wensteam started to come out his ears. She fell to the ground in laughter. Oh, my moons, this is priceless, Pearl laughed. Oh, shush. You'll get your turn eventually, Daniel remarked. But for now, we should find some shelter. I ain't sleeping outside tonight. I'll tell you that much. Agreed, Pearl said before she got up again, leaving a patch of melted snow on the floor. No, wait, Pearl said as she looked over to the others who were still collapsed on the floor. No way. They're all asleep? Pearl whispered. Wait, really? Daniel asked as he came to look for himself. It was true. They had all fallen asleep right in there. Well, I guess we are sleeping outside then. Daniel sighed. He couldn't deny it, though. He was also really tired, especially after what happened in the last hour or so. But before we do, we should warm them up, Daniel said. Pearl, would you be able to melt the snow around them? Sorry, I don't think my body would be able to take any more fire for a while. Pearl nodded, and slowly but surely, carefully melted the snow around the others. They left Winter buried in snow, since he likes the cold, but everyone else would be fine for the night. All done, Pearl said happily. Nice. Well done. Oh, I'm getting tired. I'll see you in the morning, Daniel said as he curled up in the warmed up patch of ice. Night, Daniel called. He could already feel the darkness of sleep and exhaustion taking him over. Night, Pearl replied, although Daniel was already sound asleep before he heard it. And that is the end of this chapter. Besides, or except for the author's note at the very bottom. Hello, everyone. Thanks for reading this new chapter. It was raining today, and I had motivation, so I decided to get this chapter done over and done with. Hopefully, it didn't feel rushed, but I'll see what I can do when I get around to editing. But besides that, I hope you all have a great day or night. Adios. I don't have much to say about this chapter. Um, some some Icewing got electrocuted to death. That was pretty funny. Um, the Giga Chad protagonist demonstrates his unique. The Giga Chad protagonist shows off his amazing flying capabilities to the gagglefuck of the group. Um, you know, I haven't read the later books, so like all these lore drops, I'm be like, I just roll with it. Like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. Um, yeah, that's all I have to say. See you next time.